Eagles. Eagles.
Good afternoon, JAKIB Nation. It's a crisp December day in the city of brotherly love, and you know what that means, Big Cells. Eagles versus Cowboys today. It's not just a game in the NFL, Eagles versus Cowboys. It's a clash of legacies, a battle for pride. And today, the Eagles have a chance to lock up the NFC East on the back of Kenny Pickett taking on Cooper Rush. The challenges are high. Big Sills, how you doing, my friend, on this?
All good, man. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas, including you, my friend, and everybody in JAKIB Nation, too. Yeah, hey, man, guess what? Who would have thought here on December 29th this game matters to Philadelphia? And you know what you're going to get with Dallas? You're going to get their Super Bowl, man. I mean, what a better way for Dallas to go out. You know, they want to finish above 500 here, too. They have an opportunity.
They're fighting right now, Sills. They're fighting right now.
Absolutely. And the one thing they do very well, if you look at defense, the one thing and one metric that they do well is on third down on defense. I mean, that's because they have pass rushers. Now, it's going to be essential, in my opinion, for the Eagles to win first and second down, to keep them out of that third down, and to make this thing kind of an easy ball game for Kenny Pickett. Look, if you're expecting Kenny Pickett to roll into this football game and think that he's going to throw for 350 yards, this is not needed. This is the football game where the run defense for the Dallas Cowboys have been the biggest issue all year defensively. They can't stop the run. They're at the bottom of the league in every single one of those metrics. And again, too, like I said, this is a game that matters here, man. I mean, think about this, Zander. If you lose this ball game here, that final game of the year, you got to play your dudes here. I mean, you've got to play them all because you still got to wrap up. Now, again, if Washington loses this today, I mean, the division is wrapped up. But if they win out, they win a division. As Big Sills predicted, that the Washington Commanders still are in the window right now where they still have an opportunity. Do I think that's happening? No. I think Pickett can get it done today. Just run the ball, man. I mean, you're not looking for this guy to throw for 300 yards today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Jalen Hurts sideline obviously turning to Kenny Pickett. Sills, it's freezing cold in Philadelphia. Awesome. It's rainy as hell. It's windy. I mean, you got every weather variable today in the game. And then to top it all off, you got two hands Pickett, two gloves Pickett, who needs the glove. How will that, I mean, seriously, in all seriousness, how will that impact your ability to throw the ball when you got that glove on? The rain is present today. The wind is present. It should be interesting, and I think it will be a big Saquon Barkley day today, Big Cells.
Can I tell you what? Now, again, this is just an old school guy talking here. So I hear this guy's got tenderized ribs. So to me, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, it's a little colder. You got small hands Pickett. I put a guy on that nose, dude, and I get that center quarterback exchange, and I test that out with Kenny Pickett, because, again, the ball is going to be slick. You're going to be in a football game where this guy hasn't taken a ton of reps. Now, they have a week of reps this week, so that's going to help a lot compared to what happened last week when they just had to put him in after Jalen Hurts ended up. Oh, by the way, real quick, so if Hurts doesn't play these last two games, he finishes the season with 29.03 in passing yards. And
I'm not about to cry about that.
Wow, what an year he had, man. Unbelievable. 29.03. The last time I saw a quarterback lead a 14-win team that had 29.03 was Bob Greasy in 73.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, there's a lot of injuries in this game, and we're going to see how the game plays out.
It
just came out.
AJ's banged up in this game a little bit. He's going to be playing.
AJ will play, but the Eagles just put out their inactives, and you'll have Jalen Hurts obviously inactive in this football game. Kenny Pickett will be out there. The surprise to me, linebacker Nakobe Dean is out of this game. He will be inactive today, potentially resting him up, and I don't know, trying to get him ready for playoffs. I know he was a little banged up, but nothing crazy, and he'll be out of this game. So potentially, I mean, the Cowboys are banged up too. They got no CeeDee Lamb. They're missing a bunch of guys, but the Eagles are missing some players here, and then also Will Shipley is out. Now, not that he gets a big role, but, you know, a prominent starter on defense and Nakobe Dean and Jalen Hurts out. You can't take this game lightly to wrap up the NFC.
Tell me what the because this is the first that I'm hearing of Nakobe Dean being out. What is this? Is it you're resting him? I mean,
No, it's not rest. He was dealing with a let me look real quick.
I mean, because again, has the season wore him down a little bit now? Where don't tell me it's just rest. It's got to be something to do with a shoulder.
They called it an abdominal injury. Like, what does that mean?
That's a fatigue injury.
Does he have a tummy ache?
That's a fatigue injury, man. When you're talking about an oblique injury, I mean, that's usually fatigue. So we'll see how this plays out and going forward towards the playoffs here, because he's had a great year, man. There's no question about it. He's had a great year. But one of my question marks also on whether or not he was going to be a functional guy was whether or not he could go 17 ball games and play throughout the season. So looks like the season's worn on him a little bit here, as those oblique injuries become fatigue injuries, Zander, like a calf injury or a groin injury. Those are fatigue injuries. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, hopefully it's not. I mean, I think the fear would be, is there something like torn in there? You know,
absolutely.
What I mean? That could be a fear.
That's a 6-month injury.
Who do you think steps up there? I know you have Trotter Jr. My guess would be Oren Burks, the guy who kind of came in for the Niners last year. Remember when Dre Greenlaw went down? He's a little bit more of a veteran player. But I guess Trotter Jr. could have a chance as well.
Yes, absolutely. So they'll probably rotate that position, and they'll probably bring some people around where they're going to have rotating guys going in and out of there. So they'll try to get – and then maybe they even cover it with a different formation with maybe a 5 front. And so that they can help that out, play more of a traditional 43 where you have outside linebackers and a middle linebacker, and you put Zack Baun in the middle. By the way, Zack Baun is getting a lot of run. I got to tell you, I've heard a lot of people saying right now that there's a great shot that he might make the All-Pro team. And I said that was an impossible thing for him to do. I'll tell you this, Zander, there's a great comment that's being made by a lot of folks. If this guy's name was, let's just say, Michael Parsons, would he not be the leading candidate for the Defensive Player of the Year award?
Would. Yep.
I mean, if he had a better name or a bigger name, he might be in that conversation in the top 3. I mean, if you got the number 1 defense in the NFL, you got the number 1 pass defense in the NFL, and you're talking about the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, how are you not in the conversation to have somebody on your football team that's in that breath of being called the Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's 100% accurate by you. Sills, how do you see this defense lining up today versus this Cowboys offense? They got new CeeDee Lamb, who I think is one of the better receivers in the NFL. You got Cooper Rush back there. I mean, it's not looking good for that Cowboys offense. I'm not sure how they're going to score many points in this game.
Here's what you're going to have to do if you're Dallas. Now, I'll tell you what, that's sometimes to an advantage, and I'll tell you how. You're right, Zander. There was a primary target in Dallas with CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
Cooper Rush is going to be leaned on more, which, again, he's a backup. I mean, this is like the battle of the backups here. Okay, the only difference is that the Eagles have more skilled talent on their side of the football, especially in the most important part. You know where that is? The O-line.
Yep.
That O-line, as long as you have that scenario lined up, you're going to be good here. But there's no question about it, man. This is going to be an interesting ball game on how the Cowboys are able to move the sticks. Now, again, if you're Vic Fangio, what's the number 1 primary target that you have to stop in this offense? You got to stop the run. Make Cooper Rush throw the football, because they're very limited at the wide receiver position. They do have a decent tight end. That kid can play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will the backup bowl be better than the Pop-Tart bowl?
Oh my God. No, well, I don't know, man. I tell you what, at least we won't have guys bailing on us at halftime and saying, I'm going to put my hand up because I want to go and declare for the National Football League in the middle of a football game. That was a fucking atrocious on what I saw, and it was a disrespect to the University of Miami. I like Cam Ward a lot, but at the end of the day, I would hold that against somebody for bailing on me. I couldn't imagine Jerome Brown going, hey, you know what? I'm going to bail on us at halftime. That's not going to happen. Maybe it's a modern day thing with these new kids.
I just don't get why not just sit out the full game. You know, I can't. I get
because
it.
He wanted the record.
Right.
He wanted the record. It was a selfish moment. He wanted the record all-time touchdown number. So what he did was he got what he needed, and then he bailed. And to me, that's a problem, man, because you're either in or you're not. Like you said, hey, man, I don't want to row out to sea when all of a sudden, thank God he wasn't on the boat with Columbus. He would have turned around. Hey, turn around, because he didn't see land.
They'd throw him overboard, Sills. They're not holding on to that dead weight. Sills, Eagles rushing attack in this game feels pretty obvious that that's going to be the emphasis for the Eagles offense to try and get a win here. You got Saquon Barkley. He's on pace for nearly 2,000 plus yards. this season, already up to 1838 with 13 touchdowns. Eagles rushing game. Is it as simple as hand that thing off to Barkley and let him go today?
Well, Zander, when you get into a fight, and many of you in here have been into fist fights, right? Well, when I know that I'm stronger than you and I can knock you out with one punch, I'm not going to sit around and jab with you. I'm going to go right at you and knock the shit out of you, and I'm going to knock you out. So I'm going to tell Dallas Cowboys front seven, including Micah Parsons, I'm going to go like this to John's favorite football player on the planet, Micah Parsons. I'm going to point to him and go just like this. I'm coming at you. I'm running the ball at you. I know you don't like it. So what we're going to do in the cold here is we're going to beat the living shit out of you. And you know what? The one thing that the Eagles have proven, even though I think it's kind of cookie cutter offense, people can't stop it, Zander. Why not just stick with it? I'm expecting 45 rushing attempts today. If I see anything over 15 attempts by Kenny Pickett, I'll tell you what, we'll see how that offense looks with Kenny flicking
Listen, you still got A.J. Brown. You still got Kavontae. I still think they're going to throw the ball. My main fear with throwing the ball today is the weather.
Absolutely.
And Kenny Pickett with the wind and the rain and the gloves on the hands. I mean, how effective will he be in throwing the football? I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, no question. By the way, one more time, Zander, and I know people disagree with me on it, and I'll say it again. The offensive passing game has just not been very good this year. It's been very average. I mean, you could say that, well, they want to keep it in the garage and they want to bring it out when they need it. Okay, well, at the end of the day, it underachieved. And I said this on my show on Friday, and I started it out. Zander, I think this style of football is taking its toll, don't you? On the skilled players. Just check it out. 14 games have been missed between Goddard, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith, and now Jalen Hurts. Don't you and plus you're 31st in passing. You're the second worst passing offense in football.
Yeah.
Don't you think this offensive style has taken its toll? A year ago, Jalen played every game. Devontae played every game. A.J. missed one regular season game. Then he missed the playoff game, obviously, at the end of the season. Don't you think this style of play, and I'm not saying it's not working. I'm not saying that.
You're just saying
I'm just saying, don't you think it's taking its toll on all of the skilled guys blocking in the system? So I asked on Friday, I go, hey, do you really think Saquon Barkley has been great for the offense? At the end of the day, it made it unbalanced. Guys were banged up all year. And again, can you maintain this over the next 3 years with this style of play where your offensive skill set guys are banged up and they're not as productive? They're in and out of the lineup. Look, one more time, I want to circle back and go, Sills, they've got a 10-game winning streak. Or they had one going into
They don't have it anymore.
Washington. So, again, man, this is going to be a 45-attempt football game, in my opinion, by the Eagles. Run that damn ball at Dallas. They cannot stop the run, and you don't want to do one thing in this game against Dallas. Don't get in third and long because Dallas is third in the NFL in third down efficiency. So they're pretty good at that because they got some pass rushers.
Yep, absolutely. I got a windy day, a rainy day in Philly. It's weirdly creeping up in temperature, but the wind chill and the rain kind of creates an interesting atmosphere for the game today. Let's get to John McMullen, who's live from Lincoln Financial Field, who's joining us now here on the JAKIB Pregame Show. Johnny Mac, how you doing, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, guys? It's actually nice down here. The sun is out. It's going to reach 60. It's not going to rain till later tonight, so no rain during the game. So that's a big break from what it was looking like earlier in the week. It looked like it was going to be a big rain game, but both teams are going to luck out from that standpoint. Just watch Jake Elliott crack one from 63. Wow. So it's a beautiful day from what you would typically assume a December day in Philadelphia. It's going to be a break weather-wise for both teams.
Yeah, John, what do you think? What do you think of this game? You got the backup bowl, you got Kenny Pickett, you got Cooper Rush. Dallas is depleted. Eagles are also a little bit depleted. Now Nakobe Dean is out inactive for this game. What do you make of this matchup coming in, John, with all the injuries on both sides?
Yeah, just how we all drew it up. Cooper Rush versus Kenny Pickett. NFC East on the line for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not really, but, if they will clinch today with a win, clinch that number 2 seed as well with a win. So Yeah, but there's some difficulties for both teams. Obviously, I would say more so for the Dallas Cowboys, who basically, if you thought about where we thought this game might be, and Dak Prescott, C.D. Lamb, and Zach Martin, and DeMarcus Lawrence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cowboys are down a lot of players that were expected to be a big part of that team. Eagles starting to suffer some attrition as well. Don't have both quarterbacks, the quarterback of the offense, the quarterback of the defense. Jalen Hurts, as you mentioned, Nakobe Dean is out as well. So both teams have difficulties, but Eagles seem better prepared to persevere than Dallas on paper.
John, do you think this is a big-time running attack game? You think 40 carries plus, north of that number, because of the weather too? That's what you're going to see in this ball game. You're going to see a ton of Saquon Barkley. Would that be the remedy against a Dallas team that really struggles against the run?
Well, in theory, the Eagles run the football well, but you saw the impact of Jalen Hurts in Washington when he left the game. I mean, you don't have that +1 in the running game. Dallas is going to load the box to try to stop Saquon Barkley until you prove you can get him out of that. So, and I don't think the weather is not going to be a factor. So that part of it's out the window, as I mentioned. It's going to be 62 degrees, no rain. So I don't think that's going to factor into it at all. I expect Dallas to load the box and say, let Kenny Pickett beat us. And I think that's how they'll approach it until the Eagles can get them out of that.
John, what's the update you can give me on Nakobe Dean? He's been ruled out today on the inactive list. What do you know about that injury? How serious is it? What can you tell me about Nakobe?
Yeah, he's been dealing with an elbow. It's not the elbow. He's been playing through that with a big brace on his arm. It's an abdomen issue. So that kind of cropped up during the week. It's concerning enough that he's missing the game. So, yeah, it's a bit of a concern. Oren Burks will get the start next to Zach Baun, but Zach Baun will take over the green dot. So he will be the quarterback of the defense for the Eagles. We'll see how it shakes out. Nakobe Dean's having a heck of a year. I think it gets overshadowed by the year Zach Baun's having. But Nakobe's a big part of this, and as I said, the quarterback of the defense. So it's something to be concerned about because it's a big downgrade when you go from Nakobe Dean to Oren Burks or Jeremiah Trotter or anybody else they may try to throw out there.
John, who do you expect to step up for Nakobe today? Will it be Oren Burks?
Yeah, it'll be Oren Burks. He'll be the starter opposite Zach Baun. As I said, Zach Baun will be the green dot, though, so he'll take over the responsibilities of calling the defense, getting everybody aligned correctly. And that's what happened last week in Washington when he had to leave for a short period. Zack had to change out his helmet, become the green dot. So he'll handle that role. But it's a big injury. It's a big injury for the Eagles.
How about this, John? Do you expect the offense to look any different? Or are they going to run a little more of what they do with Jalen Hurts here? We saw this a couple of years ago when they did that to Gardner Minshew. They ran the same RPO offense with him when Jalen Hurts went out, and it was a disaster. Do you expect them to be a little more different here in how they're going to be a play calling offense here? Because he's more of a traditional guy when it comes to drop back. Do you expect to see that a little bit more? Less of the RPOs, obviously. They're not going to run the same offense, right?
No, I think it'll be a little bit different because Kenny's a different style of quarterback, and you get a chance. It's not like last week where he's coming into the game after Jalen's hurt 6 minutes in, so you already have the game plan. You're already doing certain things. This time they knew early in the week Jalen Hurts was not going to play, so the whole game plan was built with Kenny Pickett in mind. In theory, if things are successful, you're going to see the football out on time a little bit quicker, little more anticipatory throws, things like that. So it should change a little bit. The running game will stay probably RPO driven with not not the same kind of threats, but just that's how the Eagles have built this offense. So you're not going to make wholesale changes in 1 week. But as I said, football should come out a little bit quicker and more of a traditional style of passing offense.
John, Saquon Barkley, that's been made of his season this year coming in. He's now 2 games left, and the sights are still on the 2K and I guess the Eric Dickerson. I'm not sure. What do you expect to see from Saquon Barkley today in this game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big part of it. I think anytime you lose the quarterback, you're going to lean on that foundation of Saquon Barkley and that offensive line. But, the Cowboys know that too. And as we kind of saw, I don't care if you go Jim Brown on down. If you put enough people in the box, you can stop anybody if you really want to. So, the Cowboys have not been effective stopping the run. They have been better recently, a little bit. My assumption is they'll come into this game, let's stop Saquon Barkley at all costs and try to make Kenny Pickett beat us. That makes sense to me. I think that's what Mike Zimmer will do. But the one thing is, and you saw it last week with the 68-yard run against Washington, if you put everybody up front and everybody's not gap sound and everybody's not disciplined, all of a sudden he can hit a home run. But then you see in the second half, if they are disciplined, it becomes very, very difficult to run the football. So a little bit of a give and take there.
How about this too, John? I mean, why this game is significant for the Eagles is that if you're scoreboard watching with Minnesota and Detroit, that final game of the season between those two are going to automatically – that's going to be for home field advantage no matter what Philadelphia does the rest of the way out. Those two are going to determine it if they win today. Now, if they win today, both those football teams, how do you look at it if Philadelphia wins? I mean, are we looking at potentially the last time we see the starters play? Because I would doubt that they're going to put those guys in against New York because, again, you would want to try to get a little bye. You'd want to get guys like Dean healthy and Jalen healthy, kind of give them a bye because you're going to be hosting a game at the Link. Would you not think that they would be looking at it that way? Because the division is still not wrapped up if they happen to drop this game, and I don't believe they will drop this game today. But if they do, if there's turnovers or what have you, that means they would have to play that final game. So that's what makes this a little more significant, no?
Yeah, I mean, well, the Eagles aren't going to scoreboard watch today, number one, because Minnesota's playing at 4:25 and Detroit's playing Monday night. So there's nothing you can do. They have to win this game to win the NFC East. Coming out of this game, if Minnesota wins, if Detroit wins on Monday night, next week is going to be meaningless from the Eagles' perspective. They'll be locked into the number 2 seed. The winner of that game will be the number 1 seed. So, they'll rest their guys. Some guys have to play, obviously. You only have a 47-man game day roster, but some guys have to play. But the vast majority of people, they will sit and rest and should in that type of scenario. The only reason you're going to see the starters next week is if in that unlikely scenario that the number 1 seed is still a possibility, the Eagles will play and maybe scoreboard watch next week if the games are – NFL generally puts those games on at the same time. So then you'll start to scoreboard watch.
Hey, Zander, I want to tell John this here. And John, I had a conversation with Ray Lewis last night. We were talking. We were obviously watching the Canes game last night. And he said this to me about this kid, Zack Baun. He said if Zack Baun had the name Ray Lewis, he'd be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. If he had
I agree with that. He's had an all-pro year. I think he should be in the conversation to be Defensive Player of the Year. Not going to win it because we all know those awards go to guys who get, big sack numbers and things like that. But it wouldn't surprise me if Zack Baun's top 5 in the voting or something like that. He's one of the great stories of this NFL season, coming where he came from as a backup player in New Orleans, signing a 1-year deal for $1.6 million. And the idea here was to make him a backup edge rusher and a special teams player. And all of a sudden, Vic Fangio sees him and says, I think he can play off-ball linebacker. We have an opening on the off-ball linebacker. He sees that role. He's just been making plays week after week after week. Yeah, he's been spectacular. He's, for all the talk, and rightfully so with the year Saquon Barkley has had offensively, defensively, Zach Baun has been every bit as important for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Good stuff. Johnny Mac, question on Jalen Hurts. If let's assume for a second they win this game today, any concern 2 weeks rest in the end of the year going into the playoffs could create some rust potentially, or is it more good than bad in your opinion?
I mean, it might create a little bit of rust, but that happens all the time in the playoffs. Maybe you go 5, 6, 7 minutes into the game, first quarter, then you get yourself into it. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but it's far more important to make sure he's completely healthy, completely rested. And as I said, to me, it's not the concussion. I don't want to make light of concussions, but to me, it's the finger. You get to settle down that finger, which has been an issue over the past couple of weeks on his non-throwing hands. That's a silver lining to this injury, at least a little bit from my perspective, because that's been a big thing when it comes to ball handling and things like that with Jalen Hurts. So if that finger sort of calms down a little bit over this couple of week span, yeah, not too much concern about Rust in the playoffs. He's played a lot of football.
Let me throw this at you, John, and you could call me crazy on this one here, or you could call me it's just what it is, and it happened this year, and it's just coincidence here. There's no question Saquon Barkley has been a superstar this year in the NFL and on that team. But don't you think that this year that style of play, it's taken its toll on some of the skilled players? I mean, there's 14 games missed between Goddard, Hurts, AJ, and Devontae Smith, and that style of play has led to the passing game being second worst in the National Football League. Production is down, and also health has been down a little bit. And by the way, John, I'm not saying it's not working, because obviously look at the record and look where they are this year, and I'm not going down there. But don't you believe last year everybody was pretty healthy? I mean, Jalen played all 17, Devontae played all 17, AJ missed the final regular season game, then he missed obviously the playoffs too, but this style of play is kind of what they did in Tennessee when AJ was there. They ran the hell out of the ball. There's over 340 carries, where Saquon's never carried that before. And you also had 100 and some odd carries with Jalen being effective in it. Don't you think that thing has kind of taken its toll? Even in the O-line, guys have been in and out. Hasn't that style of play taken its toll on the football team, or do you think that's just coincidence?
Yeah, I don't know about those particular injuries. I mean, if it were more, I guess Dallas Goedert got hurt blocking, so you could argue that. AJ earlier in the season got hurt in practice. I don't think that had much to do with the style of football. To me, I do think it takes a toll on certainly the running back, and we'll probably be talking about that next year with Saquon Barkley. The history of running backs who have a ton of touches one year, then they come back the next year, it tends to take a toll on their body. So that might be for something down the road. But no, I don't think those injuries in specific, with the exception of Goddard's most recent, he did on Barkley. I guess you could say that, but that's part of the game. You know that, Dan. I mean, sometimes you get rolled up on. Sometimes,
yeah,
and that could happen whether you're running it 30, 40 times or 10 times. Just wrong type of situation, wrong happening. So I can't legislate injuries. That doesn't change for me.
John, with what you said about the weather, it sounds like it might be a little easier to mitigate this problem. But whenever I think about a game involving two backup quarterbacks, I think turnovers and I think special teams. I'll go to special teams for the Eagles. They have not been good as of late. You're going up against Kavontae Turpin today, maybe the best kickoff returner in the NFL. How big of an impact could that be on today's game, and how do you handle that if you're the Eagles?
Yeah, I think that was a big – when we were talking earlier in the week, you see Turpin – the NFL has a way to expose your weaknesses, and you saw what happened with the kickoffs, the short kickoffs in Washington. Turpin might turn them into a touchdown, 40, 50-yard returns. The weather has broken for the Eagles in a positive way. They should be able to get it to the end zone because of the weather. And that's the way you stop Kavontae Turpin. Don't let him return it. So hopefully that'll be mitigated by the weather. Without CD Lamb, though, they've been getting the ball to Turpin as a receiver as well. And, he's not a guy who's going to catch it 10 times. But when they do give it to him, when they do get it to him, whether it's a manufactured touch, his numbers are outrageous. He's averaging 23.4 yards a touch on the offensive side of the football. So he is the fastest player in the NFL. And if he gets in space, it's one of the few things you have to be concerned about. Because this Cowboys offense they are limited, except for Kavontae Turpin, who's just, as I said, he's going to outrun everybody.
John, they've gotten better since that start with Cooper Rush. I mean, he's now improved to 9-4 on the season. They beat the Buccaneers, who are in a battle right now with Atlanta to win the NFC South. I mean, they had a really good game against Tampa Bay and a must-win for Tampa, and they've gotten better in the passing game a little bit with him. Now, obviously, Lamb not good.
Yeah, but no CD Lamb. That's the big.
Yeah, well,
he's the volume. He's the volume guy, and he's one of the best 5 receivers in the NFL, and he's not playing. So they don't really have – if you go to CD Lamb has 101 receptions, and then you go all the way down to Jake Ferguson, the tight end, at 54. The other receivers, Jalen Tolbert is 42. Dowdle's a running back at 36. Turpin's got 27. So they don't have the volume guy anymore. They don't have the third down guy. They don't have the guy to move the sticks. The Eagles, again, Nakobe Dean's going to be, his absence will be felt. But this should be, I'm not going to say easy, but this is easier than normal for an NFL defense. Very, very limited offensively, similar to what we said about Pittsburgh coming into that game without George Pickett. Not a lot of explosive plays you see on the field for Dallas outside of Turpin. And as I said, all right, it might be 2 or 3 touches for him, but he's not going to touch it 10, 12 times. So that kind of takes care of itself.
Hey, John, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to try to win this game, Dallas, on the defensive side of the football. Field position, turnovers. That's where this is going to be won because, like you said, there's no explosive players. The running game is still mediocre. It's gotten a tad better. The passing game has kind of gotten better. But where they've started winning ball games and playing a little better is the pressure. And the one thing they do, John, well, is on third down efficiency defensively. They're third in the league. Everything else and every other metric are terrible. So the key for the Eagles, in my opinion, is going to be winning first and second down with the run game, keeping them in third and short. You do that, like you say, you should be able to coast to the finish line. The key will be watching third and long in this ball game. If they're losing first and second down, they're going to keep Dallas in that game because they are pretty good at getting teams off the field on third down because of Parsons and his pass rush.
Yeah, it's funny. Every single time the Philadelphia Eagles play the Dallas Cowboys, somebody brings up Micah Parsons unprompted. This organization has so much respect for Micah Parsons as a player. They know how difficult he is. They know how he changes things when he's on the field. But again, Obershawn's not out there now. DeMarcus Lawrence hasn't been out there for weeks. Trayvon Diggs and that. They've lost so much talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. You should be able to slide protection to Micah Parsons every single time. And that should be enough for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a very, very limited team right now in the Dallas Cowboys.
Johnny Mac, final question for me here before we let you get your prediction and let you get out of here. A couple of weeks ago, drama ensued in Philly about the passing game after AJ spoke and all those things happened. Since that moment, he got his 2 most targets in a game this year He got 11 targets last week or 2 weeks ago versus Pittsburgh, and 15 targets last week versus the Steelers with versus the Commanders with Kenny Pickett in the game. You expect him to have a big game, and how much of a focus is that still on the offense? I think coming out of that week, they really wanted to get that passing game going. Is that still a focus for them as they get closer to the playoffs here?
Well, I don't think it is today. Today's about winning a football game, trying to get through. That was the focus with Jalen Hurts, to get, more chemistry going with the passing game. This is just about winning a football game, winning the NFC East, getting the number 2 seed, and then that's for something down the road in practice, and we'll see as the playoffs get started. Might be too little, too late as far as the chemistry part of the passing game goes, but the Eagles were trying. That was going to be a big emphasis in Washington before Jalen Hurts got hurt again. So, but with Kenny Pickett, again, you might have a good game, you might have a bad game. It's not going to be relevant because he's not going to be the starting quarterback in the playoffs anyway. So I wouldn't say it's a big focus. This is just about winning a football game, and they should have a better game plan for Kenny Pickett installed. So that part of it is something to keep an eye on. Last week they kind of told him to default to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, because again, you're flying by the seat of your pants when the quarterback's injured 6 minutes into the game. They should have a better encompassing plan. You got to get Grant Calcaterra more involved. If they ever want to get the third receiver involved, dump the ball off to the running backs on occasion. So should be a better, more well-rounded plan, I would say, this week.
Johnny Mac, what's your final prediction here for the game, brother? The backup bowl. We're about 36 minutes away from kickoff, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, just where we thought it'd be Kenny Pickett versus Cooper Rush. I think, that's going to limit scoring somewhat. Now, the weather broke favorably, so I thought that would be an issue as well. That's not going to be an issue. So I think I had a 24-13 Eagles on Friday. Maybe I'll bump that up a little bit to 27-17, but Dallas is just down too much talent. The Eagles should be able to persevere and win the game.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Appreciate you joining in, man. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you in the halftime show and on the JAKIB postgame show, hopefully after the Eagles clinch the NFC East, but we will see. Thank you, Johnny Mac.
All right, thanks, guys.
You got it. Thank you, John.
Good stuff there from John McMullen, joining us live from Lincoln Financial Field.
Let me say this to you, Zander. Let me throw this at you here. Jalen Hurts' injury, Tom Brady has been talking about it all year long, about quarterbacks in the NFL protecting themselves. He brings it up all the time. He brought it up in the football game, and he brought it up. You see it all over the place. You see it definitely in the college level too, especially in the bowl games where these guys – I saw one in the game with Nebraska where the kid got hit, and you put the defensive player in an uncommon position there where he's just trying to make a play, and you see a lot of these quarterbacks not protecting themselves. This is what I want to see moving forward with Hurts too. I blame him completely for him not being in this ball game here because getting an extra yard, here's Brady's philosophy. What's the end point? Missing a ball game? I mean, protecting yourself is important when you are trying to move the sticks. This is one thing that I love what Mahomes does. Zander, Mahomes is not going to get hurt in a game in October versus the Raiders at Arrowhead for a yard. He'd rather lose the game and win the war.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me, I think moving forward, that has to be a priority, especially with a guy that's a dual threat guy like him. I mean, he's got to do a great job in protecting himself because obviously when he's not in there, as John said, he's the plus one.
Right.
That creates the openings for Barkley and Barkley being able to have such great success because he's right. Dallas is just going to put 10 guys. They're going to drop a safety down the same way Washington did today.
Right.
And that's going to be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I do think there's a fine line there, right? Like as the quarterback where you're an impact on the game, but how much do you go knowing that if you're not in the game, your team has no chance to accomplish the goals that they set out to accomplish. So I do think you're right about that. And Jalen Hurts probably should should find that fine line.
By the way, all quarterbacks should. I'm not just saying Jalen.
Yeah, right. But I mean, right
all.
now it's prominent in Philly because obviously we're
Yes.
talking about trying to clinch the NFC East right now with the backup quarterback. Let's go to a couple super chats. Sills. Joakim Williams checks in. He says, Sills, I drove from Dallas. I'm at the game, bro. Look at that.
Look
That's
at that, man.
dedication
Hey,
right there,
I
man.
love it. Joaquin, do me a favor, man. If you can, during the game, shoot some pictures over to Dan Sileo Show and over also to JAKIB Sports. Tag us both and give us a look of what the game looks like there down at the link there, man. Joaquin, that's pretty cool. Thank you, brother.
Great stuff there. James Jones checks in, our resident Commander fan, still feeling himself after their big win last week. He says, I don't know, man. Rush has been balling since he played us. Cooper Rush has played
James
better.
Jones throwing a little bit of sand in the
But CeeDee Lamb is out, man.
Dude, I agree with you. I don't know what they have. I don't know what they're going to fight with you. You know, Zander, like I said, if they're going to win that game, they got to win it on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, and that's why I brought up the special teams and the turnovers to John, because I think those
That's
are two really prominent things when you're talking about two backup quarterbacks today. Seth Shifley checks in. He says Pickett will be our Shane Falco today.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
man.
Okay. Kenny Flickett. All them New Jersey dudes coming down to watch him play. I love it.
Good stuff. Shooter McGavin checks in. Shooter says, Dan going to get a Pop-Tart Bowl patch on that hoodie.
Oh, man. I didn't want one. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, Shooter. Big Sills don't play in December bowl games. How you doing?
Good stuff. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. Big Sills, we got about 20 minutes left in the show today. We talked about turnovers and special teams. What do you think of this whole special teams thing? The Eagles special teams has been a liability, dude. You know, and now you got to kick off the Turpin. Jake Elliott's can't seem to hit 50-yard field goals well. He can't seem to do the kickoffs anymore. Special teams kind of falling apart. Could that be an impact on today's game, in your opinion?
Think about how dominant the run game has been. Okay, just let's do this. The passing game has been suspect. The special teams have been kind of suspect this year. Elliott's been up and down all year. That's how dominant you've been running the football. You know, and somebody took a tweet of mine that was like misread by them by saying that, hey, look, they have gone out there this year and beaten teams, and they've been beating teams. Dude, they've beaten good quarterbacks this year. There's a bunch of good quarterbacks that they have on that schedule that they've taken out. And by the way, that Pittsburgh game is still the best win on the schedule on what they did this year. And now you even want to add this one in too, Zander. Check it out, man. I mean, look at what Joe Burrow did yesterday. He was absolutely insane. And you know what? After that opening drive, that Eagle defense made him look like a non-factor in that football game. That's how good they've been on defense. Zander, their running game and their defense have carried this football team to a point that it's been so great that the special teams has not been a factor and the passing game has not been a factor. I think you need all of those aspects if you're going to win a Super Bowl. I think you're going to need this. You're going to have good special teams. You're going to have a decent passing game. And you're going to have an outstanding special teams to be able to do it and be able to win yourself a Super Bowl. I think they're kind of one-dimensional a little bit in certain aspects. You're good on defense. Not good on defense, excuse me. You're great on defense, and your running game is exceptional. How about this, Andrew? Look, this is a 17 team in a way. I said this about that 17 team before I even covered the Eagles. That was the best combination of O-line, D-line work that I had seen maybe since the Cowboy 90 teams. You got that same dynamic working here again. You're great running the ball. You've been really good at defending it. Your front seven has played exceptional, especially at the linebacker position. It looks a little, to me, kind of like that 17 team a little bit here. So, I mean, again, I think this thing, play great defense, make sure you keep Dallas in third and long, and you win first and second down. I don't see how the Eagles don't come out of this game NFC East champions.
Yeah, and also keep Kenny Pickett in third and short. You don't want him throwing some worm burners out there. So we'll see.
Keep an eye on this, though, too, Zander. You know, his health going into this game, too, has been suspect. I mean, he was
banged up his ribs. Yeah, his ribs are all banged up.
Something to that. If you're the Eagles and you're play calling, Don't you call a lot more run plays in here because you want to get out of this game? Hell, Zander, I don't care if it's 3-2.
Yeah.
If you win a ball game like that, you're just trying to win the East so that you get that home field and that playoff wild card game. At worst, right, is that you get
we need like a week 8 through week 12 Eagles performance where they control the clock, they run the ball, and they just make their opponent submit. But you mentioned Joe Burrow. I just want to mention this on the show. Joe Burrow, I mean, how about his game yesterday? What a game that was. Crazy game. I thought it came down to Joe made some of the biggest throws, and Bo missed a couple. As great as Bo Nix played yesterday, he missed a couple big throws late in that football game. Joe Burrow capitalized on him. But listen,
how about T. Higgins made himself some money gun that ball game? How about that catch down the sideline he had where he tapped it in? That was insane.
I don't know what was better, the throw or the catch. Unbelievable stuff there by T. Higgins. But listen to this. Joe Burrow is going to have more than 4,500 passing yards. He's going to have more than 40 passing touchdowns, and he's going to have less than 10 picks. The only other time that's been done in NFL history has been 2007, Tom Brady. He won the MVP. And 2011, Aaron Rodgers, and he won the MVP that year. Joe Burrow, man, if he had a better football team, he'd be talked about maybe as the best player in the world.
I'll tell you this. If they somehow sneak into the playoffs, a ton of things have to happen for them. They're at 8-8 right now. After going 1-4.
I thought if they won out and the Denver lost, they'd get in. Is it more than that?
Okay, Denver. I think Denver and I think Miami and Colts. Those 3 teams are the teams that are fighting for that last playoff spot. So I think there's some tiebreaker issues there. But let me say this to you, Zander. If he turns that team out to be 9-8, how do you not put him in the conversation for the MVP if they somehow sneak into the playoffs? Now, again, their defense is just total garbage. But if they sneak in with those numbers and they get into the playoffs, how do you not put him with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow as the top 3 guys that you would have to determine who's going to win the most valuable player? Because it's going to come down to those 3. I think Lamar has he's kind of worked his way back into that conversation because he's going to get this. Here's this guy. He's going to have over 900 rushing yards. He's going to have over 4,400 passing yards, and he's going to have over 44 touchdown passes with only 4 picks. How is he not in the conversation?
I know, man. A lot of good quarterback play right now in the NFL this year. We'll see how it all plays out. And playoff implications, though, on the line, everybody, today. Eagles looking to close out the NFC East and win this game with Kenny Pickett. Will they be able to do it? We will see what they're able to do. I'm expecting a big Saquon Barkley day today, Sills. I think they handed off a lot. You know what else I'm expecting, though? I know Kenny Pickett's in there. I think A.J. Brown's going to get a lot of targets, and I don't think he's going to be mad about Jalen Hurts being out. A.J. Brown got 15 targets last week, Sills, with Kenny Pickett in there. Kenny's lining up and letting it rip to A.J., dude.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I think Kenny Pickett's going to get the ball, like John said, out quicker than Jalen does. Jalen sits back there, and the reason why he's got 38 sacks in 15 ball games is because, again, that slant pattern, Zander, is going to be one thing that I don't think Dallas is going to be able to cover. I mean, it's 3 yards and A.J. Brown going and getting what he needs. I don't think that's not going to be a real stretch here, what you're saying there. Would it shock me if he got 15 or if he with 11 targets today? No, it wouldn't. Okay, it would not shock me if you see a lot of A.J. and a lot of Saquon in this game. I don't think they're going to try to throw the football down the field, though. I think they're going to try to keep everything in a phone booth because I don't think, like John says, that Dallas has the horses to be able to stop that. There's no reason to throw high impact turnover opportunities when you have a football team that's just superior, more physical than the opposing team. Why would you challenge the secondary when you don't need to? Okay, throw the slant, run the ball, right? Throw the slant, run the ball. I don't think Dallas can stop that.
Now, the Eagles are looking to do something that they don't do often, and that's sweep the Dallas Cowboys. They've done it one time in the last 18 years, and that was 2011. So they don't do this often. We split this thing more often than not. Now, the Cowboys Sills, they're without Dak Prescott. They're without CeeDee Lamb. They're without Zack Martin. They're without DeMarcus Lawrence. They're without DeMarvion Overshown and without Trayvon Diggs. I mean, they are as depleted as it gets for a Week 17 matchup. I don't think they have a chance in this game.
And by the way, I think they're in the 11th or 12th spot now for next April's draft. I mean, so are you really looking to sit here and go, let me beat the Eagles here? I think they're going to give them 3 quarters of good football. And if they're in it in the 4th quarter, it'll be a game. But I think you're going to see this, Zander. you're going to see that white flag waved real quick if that football team is behind early. Let's just say Kenny Pickett and that offense get out to a 14-0 start right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what you want to do. That game's over.
Yeah, I agree. Brian Pumper checks and he says, "Hey fellas, we lose this game on purpose to hurt the Cowgirls draft pick and win next week. QB in this draft is Cheeks." I don't think so, Brian. I don't think that'll happen, man.
No way, man. Go win the East, take care of business, and then rest your guys in the final game of the year, depending on what Minnesota does later in the day, and then what the Detroit Lions do on Monday against San Francisco. I mean, look, most likely this thing's going to come down. Minnesota or Detroit are going to hold home field advantage, okay? Like I told you this last week, Zander, can you imagine this? So you potentially could have a 14-win team, in the 5-hole in the NFC. That's what you might have here.
Dude,
and
that NFC North is something else, man.
Dude, and one of the teams between Minnesota, if they win this weekend and on Monday night, you're going to have a 15-2 NFC home field advantage team, either Minnesota or Detroit, and you're going to have in the 2-hole, you're going to have a 14-3 Eagle team, and in the 5-hole, you'll have a 14-3 team. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really is. That Vikings-Packers game is what, 4:25 today?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping
What
everybody.
a big game. What if Green Bay wins that game, man? I mean, Green Bay pushes themselves more. And I'm telling you, of all the teams in the NFC that I would be concerned on seeing in the second round would be that Packer team. Because I think that Packer team has the talent to get to the second round. I mean, look, Minnesota, here's my problem with Minnesota. Look, man, as great as I've been hyping up Sam Darnold, at the end of the day, really Sam Darnold in the playoffs? I don't know anything about the guy. I mean, Goff has been to 2 NFC title games, and he's been to a Super Bowl. I'm good there. Okay, Hurts has been to a Super Bowl too. But again, this Packer team, man, I think they're better and have more to offer a troubling game against the Philadelphia Eagles or even Detroit. Because you know what? They're a little bit more balanced in their roster.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out today. Sills, why do I have a weird feeling inside right now, though, that this is it's just not going to be smooth sailing today. You got Kenny Pickett. It's a divisional matchup. The Cowboys are playing hungry. They would love to spoil us winning the NFC East today. I just have a feeling, everyone, it's going to be one of those NFC East games. Now, granted, maybe I'm wrong, but I just have that feeling right now.
Over under 4 turnovers combined between 2 teams.
I think the Eagle. I'm going to say under. I think you go under today. I think it's 3, right around 3.
Over under. Saquon Barkley goes for 140. 125.
I'm going to say under because I think if you're the Cowboys coming into this game, what's your game plan?
Loading the box and stopping him and making Rush beat me.
Right. That's it. So
that makes for a low-scoring game.
It could be a low-scoring game. The weather was making it lower for me. My predictions are changing. My biggest thing on this game, with even with feeling like it's going to be one of those NFC East games, I don't know how the Cowboys are going to score. Like, you don't have CeeDee. They used to have CeeDee Lamb. I don't know how they're going to score other than if they can create some, like you said, special teams, get good field position, flip the field with good punts, stuff like that potentially. But I just don't see how the Cowboys are going to be able to move the ball today.
Absolutely. I'm with you. They're going to have to create field position on defense where there's short fields. And I think you're going to, by the way, they got a pretty good special teams field goal kicker. He's one of the absolute best in the league. So you're going to lean on him a lot of the time too. So I don't know, man. Like you said, this thing's going to have to be a game where Dallas really has field position and gets some key turnovers in this ball game if they're going to want to win this game.
All right, let's play a little over-under. Everybody in the chat, I would like you to contribute as well. Let's go Kenny Pickett, Sills. And I'm going to give you a decent number, all right? A.J. Brown got his most targets all year last game with Kenny Pickett. He was letting that thing fly to A.J. Brown. I have a feeling he's going to have the same mentality. I'm going to give you over-under 205 on the passing yards for Kenny Pickett today.
Over.
You like Kenny Pickett to let that thing fly a little bit today?
I think Kenny Pickett's going to be around 225 today.
Okay.
I think because where's Dallas's corners? They're all banged up. Their secondary's banged up. I mean, I think, and plus, you know what you're going to be? You're going to be second and short with Barkley.
Yeah.
They're going to throw the ball
That's
a
gonna be
lot
big.
on second and short,
Yeah.
and that's where they're going to be throwing the football on that slant. I think, get this, I don't really think it's going to be Pickett that's going to be the star. It's going to be A.J. Brown that's going to get the ball in the yak yards.
Yeah, let's go with him next. I'm going to go targets first, all right? So last week, 15 targets. The week before that, 11 targets. And this case after the big stink that was put up about the passing game. Over, under 9.5 targets for A.J. Brown today.
Oh, I think it's going to be between 11 and 15.
Okay.
I'm going over on that one. More so 11 to 15 targets to A.J. Brown. Probably Kavontae will be in that 7 range, somewhere around there. And I think that's probably you're going to see also, I would say the intermediate passing game, the Barkley's going to be a factor. You could see about 5 targets to Barkley.
Right. 110 yards for A.J. Brown, over, under.
I'm going to say over. I think they're going to put up over 350
You got
yards.
a big game. You got 11 to 15 targets coming for A.J. Brown. Yeah. You're expecting a big game from A.J.
I'm expecting A.J. Brown and Barkley to be a huge factor in this ball game. I think you're going to see over 100 yards receiving. If I'm not mistaken, they did that last week. They got over 140 rushing, and they got over 100. I think he had 97 yards receiving last week, somewhere in that room. I think that's where it's going to probably be, 110, 105 for A.J., and I think you're going to see a big game, probably plus 125 for Barkley.
All right, Devontae Smith. I'm going to give you the over-under at 7.5 targets, and I'm going to give you the over-under at 78 receiving yards.
I'm going to go under there, okay? I'm going to say that he's
under on both?
On both. I think he's going to be around 60 receiving yards, probably around 5 or 7 targets, somewhere in there. Maybe it touches the 7 targets, but I think you'll see probably like 5 catches for probably 55 yards, 60 yards, somewhere in there. And then you're going to see A.J. have the big game. Those are pretty standard on what they kind of look and how they try to get the ball to both those guys. Barkley is going to be a factor here. You know, I mean, I don't know what Calcaterra is going to be doing. And by the way, you know, they haven't really gotten anything out of the wide receiver 3 and also out of the tight end position this year, which has been absolutely atrocious the entire season. I don't think you'll see anybody with any significance out of those positions. But look, like I said, this is going to be an A.J. and Barkley game.
All right, Barkley over-under. I'm going to give you 26 carries over-under.
Over. I think he's going to be about 28, 30 carries in this game. I think this is going to be a big – you see, this is something else to think about. Man, if you give him 30 carries, man, he's up near 330 carries for the season.
I know, man.
I mean, you got a guy who's –
That'll be his most ever, right? His most ever right now is
293.
293. Is that what it is? Yeah, so that'll be a big – What about his yardage? You go 125 just because that's our jersey giveaway number. What about 125 over-under?
I think he's over that. I think he's going to get over that. I mean, hey, dude, it's one thing to load the box with Washington's guys and their linebackers, Louvu and Bobby Wagner.
Right.
It's another guy when you got trash cans over there at the Dallas Cowboys to try to load the box. I don't care if they load the box. I don't think Dallas has got the horses. Dude, Dallas is lining up basically with a practice squad team.
I know. They really are.
Positions. I just don't see it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's get to one more super chat, and then we'll get Sills' big Sills' prediction here. NJ Fishing, what's up, brother? He says over under spoonfuls of regatta for Big Sills. Puts on his pasta tonight, 12.5.
Yeah, nah, man, no regatta cheese, man. I'm not a real big. I'm more of a meat dude, man. So you know me.
You like a bolognese. You like a bolognese sauce.
Yeah, I like it like that. Yeah, I don't like a ton of cheese. My grandma used to always make it with a ton of cheese. And I said, you know, I don't know. It's all right. I'm good. It's all good.
All right, Sills, what's your prediction for the game, brother?
I would make this point on Friday. I said 28-20. I'm going to kind of lower that down for Dallas. I'm going to say 28-17. The Eagles, they win the ball game. I just, like you said, I don't know how they're moving the sticks, dude. I mean, where are you moving the sticks? Hey, Ricky Ricardo has kind of improved the run game, but not a lot. They're doing about 102.5 now, 102 yards, 0.5. They've increased it from 96, so they've gotten better a little bit. And by the way, Cooper Rush has played better. They had a really good game against Tampa. And let's not forget, Tampa beat the pants off the Eagles earlier in the season. That was a pretty good win for them. So I just don't see how but they had CD. in that ball game. And now they've shut him down. I just don't see where they get the offense.
I'm gonna go with my boldest score prediction of the year this year, and it mainly comes down to I think the Eagles defense has a bounce back week coming off of a tough week for them last week, and I don't see how the Cowboys move the ball. I got 27-6. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to score. I don't think they're going to be able to score. Even if they're able to move the ball between the 20s, how are they going to get into the end zone? They don't have great guys. They don't have great good nobody in the passing game. I just don't see it right now for them. So I'm going to go 27-6 in this game. The Eagles will win and clinch up the NFC East, the battle of the backups.
Absolutely, man. I don't see how Dallas moves the ball. Now, again, will Philadelphia beat themselves in this football game? That's Philadelphia's playing against themselves today, Zander. That's who they're playing against right now. They're playing against themselves.
NJ Fishing says 11 more likes to 100. Smack
Thank you, maniac.
Hit that like button for us. We appreciate that, NJ Fishing. Thank you, my man, for doing that. We appreciate all you guys for checking in today. Big Sills, good pregame show, brother. We'll see how this game goes. We're about 12, 13 minutes from kickoff, so enjoy the game, everybody. Big Sills, we'll talk to you in the postgame show, brother.
You got it, man. Thank you, everybody, for coming aboard on the pregame show. We'll see you on the postgame.
See you next time, everybody.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.